1 through 14. But because I don't feel like wrestling through all those names, I'm going to read 4 through 14. Amen. Come on, I just got to be honest. Hey, amen. Verses 1 through 14 in your private devotion. But I'm going to read verses 4 through 14. And I'm going to read it from the New International Version. But I encourage you to read from whatever version you may have. This is an amazing challenge. Amen. It's going to verses 4 through 14 in Jeremiah 29. If you don't have Jeremiah 29, turn to Jeremiah 28 and it's right after that. Amen. If you're still looking, say amen. If you're ready, say amen. Jeremiah chapter 29. We're missing at verse 4. This is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says. To all those I carried into exile from Jerusalem to Babylon, build houses and settle down, plant gardens and eat what they produce, marry and have sons and daughters, find wives for your sons and give your daughters in marriage, so that they too may have sons and daughters. Increase in number there, do not decrease. Also seek the peace and prosperity of the city to which I have carried you into exile. Pray to the Lord for it, because if it prospers, you too will prosper. Yes, this is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says. Do not let the prophets and diviners among you deceive you. Do not listen to the dreams you encourage them to have. They are prophesying lies to you. In my name, I have not sent them, declares the Lord. This is what the Lord says. When 70 years are completed for Babylon, I will come to you and fulfill my good promise to bring you back to this place. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. I will be found by you, declares the Lord, and will bring you back from captivity. I will gather you from all the nations and places where I banished you, declares the Lord, and will bring you back to the place from which I carried you into exile. You may be seated in the presence of our God. Oh, it's build houses, plant gardens, marry and have sons and daughters. Increase there, do not decrease. I want to preach how to manage in the meantime. How to manage in the meantime. How do you manage in the meantime? Church, when you read through the book of Jeremiah, you'll discover that the dominating theme or purpose of this book is Jeremiah is trying to urge or persuade God's people to turn from their sins and turn back to God. 80% of this book, he's trying to encourage God's people to live how they're supposed to live. And I don't know if that bothered you, but y'all, it bothered me because I just can't figure out, why do a prophet have to encourage God's people to serve God? But why should anyone have to persuade God's people to serve him and honor him? I mean, they are God's people. And y'all, I just believe that your obedience to God should never be out of guilt. It should always be because of gratitude. But that wasn't the case when you read this book. The people were just living any kind of way. They were comfortable in sin. They were just doing whatever they wanted to do. And every time a prophet would give them a warning, it would go in one ear and come out the other. Jeremiah, for 20-something chapters, tried to warn them and tell them to turn away and get right with God. And he even told them that God was going to bring judgment upon their lives. He told them that if they don't do what they're supposed to do, God was going to pay them for their stuff. But the Bible lets us know that they did not listen to Jeremiah. They kept doing what they wanted to do. And y'all, for some reason, they thought that because God didn't do anything that they got away with their sin. But can anybody testify that God's patience don't mean God's approval? Lord have mercy. Just because God don't do anything about it when you do it, don't mean it won't come back. Because here it is, sooner or later, your stuff can come back to haunt you. Yes, sir. Amen, somebody. Amen, y'all. Here it is, God told them to turn around, but because they lost respect and reverence for God, they just kept on ignoring God and worshiping false idols. And whenever you lose reverence for God, or whenever you no longer fear God, there's nothing that bothers you. You just do whatever you want to do. And y'all, they heard what Jeremiah said, but they did not take it to heed. They just kept on living. And the Bible says that God took his hand off of them and he allowed the enemy, King Nebuchadnezzar, to come into the city of Jerusalem and destroy everything the people of Judah had. When Nebuchadnezzar came in, the Bible lets us know that he destroyed the temple, destroyed the place of worship, took all their valuables, killed their loved ones. They took those who were strong and took those that had ability off in captivity. Y'all, this was probably the worst season of God's people. This was a damaging season. They were disconnected from God and they lost everything they had. It was so bad. The Bible lets us know in Psalm 137 that it was so bad for them that they refused to sing the Lord's song. When you read Psalm 137, it says, all we did in Babylon was sit by the rivers and weep. Day and night they would weep and wish they were back in Jerusalem. It was such a bad season that they went from being blessed to being bitter and broken. God's people found themselves in a devastating and discouraging place. But y'all, the reason I'm preaching this sermon is not because I just want to talk about the children of Judah, because maybe somebody can testify that they're not the only ones that ended up in a tough season. Because maybe somebody under the sound of my voice know exactly what it feels like to have your back up against the wall, to be dealing with some tough time. You may not be in Babylon, but you had some days where you felt broken and on the verge of becoming bitter. Amen, somebody. If you never had any problems, please forgive me for not preaching to you. There's some of us who may be smiling and still broken on the inside. Do I have a witness in this place? Just because you see a smile on my face don't mean the devil ain't busy. Just because you see me worshiping and giving God praise in church don't mean everything in my life is okay. Sometimes I praise to keep from breaking down. So sometimes I will worship to keep from falling apart. Y'all, this is a word for all of us. Here it is. Y'all, they were at a hard place, but activity in a hard place. God didn't forget about them. Lord have mercy. Even though they were down, God gave them a word to get them through. And that's one thing I love about God, is that no matter what you're going through in life, he will always give you a word to get you through. See, some of us want God to always bring us out, but God don't always bring us out. But if God leave you in it, he will give you a word to get you through it. Do I have a witness in this faith? And that's why when we come to church, Lord, I need a word from God. I really don't need no jokes and cliches. I need to know, is there a word from the Lord? But let me help the atmosphere. You can get a word from more than the preacher. You ain't got to wait for the preacher to stand up to give you a word. God can speak to you through a song. He can speak to you through the reading of the scripture. He can speak to you through a prayer. He can speak to you just from somebody being nice. I need a word from the Lord. But let me be clear. God will always give you a word for your trouble, but it may not be the word you want to hear. Oh, anybody know? God don't always give us what we want to hear. God will tell us what we need to hear, because God is more concerned about developing your character than making you comfortable. uncomfortable, Lord. And verse, God will give you a word that you may not want to hear. And that's exactly what happened to the children of Judah. Y'all, I believe that when they went to captivity, they prayed to God and they said, Lord, get us out of this. God, no, there's no way we can deal with this trial. Lord, they prayed and they wanted God to hurry up and deliver them from the worst season of their life. But because there are some trials that God won't take you out of, because God is using the trial to accomplish his purpose in your life. Do you know you can pray, you can dance, shout, you can snot, all that stuff, and God will still leave you in it. Which means there are some trials we just don't have to deal with. Lord have mercy. There's some seasons we're going to have to go through in our lives. Y'all, the children of Judah prayed, but God didn't give them the response they were looking for. And y'all, they can't get mad at God because he left them in Babylon, because they in Babylon because of what they did in the first place. Y'all, you can't get in a mess and then get an attitude with God for taking his time to bring you out the mess, because if you would have did what he told you to do, first of all, you wouldn't even be in the mess. Preach, Pastor, I'm doing the best I can. You can't get mad that God, in fact, you in a bad relationship and then you got nerve to go to God and say, God, why you ain't telling me they wasn't no good? Well, God said, you ain't asked me in the first place. You worried about how good they look to you, but I told you a long time ago that everybody who look good to you ain't always good. Come on, help me preach in this place. Do we have a witness in this place? And some people frustrated because they follow a feeling instead of following God. Preach, Pastor, I'm doing the best I can. It's fine, and here it is. Y'all, they were upset with God, but God, here it is. God says, y'all in this situation because you didn't do what I told you to do. And God heard their prayers, but God didn't bring them out immediately. But because he's such a loving God, God says, I'm going to give you a word to help you manage in the meantime. I'm going to help you. Not only will I keep you in it, I'm going to give you some advice or some encouragement to help you get through it. When you read chapter 29, the Bible says that Jeremiah sent a letter to the people who survived the exile and destruction of Jerusalem. He wrote this letter because he had some of God's people were in a horrible place. And just for the record, church, even though the children of Judah was in Babylon, they still had a reason to give God praise. Yet even though they lost everything valuable to them, even though they were disconnected from God, even though the place where they were at now was discouraging, they still had a reason to give God praise. Preacher, are you saying that in this worst season of their life, they still have a reason to give God praise? That's exactly what I'm saying. Well, where is that in the text? I'm so glad you asked, because it's right there in verse 1. When you read your Bible, the Bible says that Jeremiah wrote this letter to the people who survived the exile to Babylon. I'm going to say it one more time. That extra hour, mess y'all up. Here it is. Jeremiah wrote this letter to the people who survived the destruction of Jerusalem, but now living in Babylon. See, some people mad because they living in Babylon, but you forgot to give God praise that you survived Jerusalem. Because everybody didn't survive Jerusalem. There were some people who died in Jerusalem. And if you survive Jerusalem, the least you can do is thank God for where you are. You may not be where you want to be, but you can still praise God that you are alive. Do I have a witness in this place? No matter of fact, I may not have what I want to have, but thank God I survived. And if I survive, it suggests I've been through something that could have took me out of here. I've been through something that may have took others out. But thank God that even though you went through a tough season, you still have breath in your body. See, some of us walked away from an accident when others died in an accident. Some of us survived a sickness when others died from a sickness. So if you don't have any other reason to give God glory, you can thank God you are alive. Lord have mercy. When was the last time you thank God that you still breathing? Don't you know that there were some people who had the same amount of drinks you had and didn't make it? Lord, they don't want to be honest on here today. Lord, thank God I'm alive. Some people survived or didn't make it, but you make it. So when you don't have any other reason, it may be bad, but thank God I'm still here. Do anybody got a I'm still here testimony? See, you looking at me, you see me now, but you don't know what I've been through. Do me a favor, just to let your neighbor tell you have no idea what I survived. You have no idea what the Lord has brought me through. Lord have mercy. I am a survivor. They were in captivity, but they still had a reason to praise God because of what they survived. They said, I'm not always praising God for what he's about to give me. I'm praising God for what he brought me through. Lord have mercy. Yes, despite the fact that they were stuck in captivity, they still had a reason to give God praise. And I know it appears somebody looked at this and said, God did them wrong. Why would God let his children suffer a trial in Babylon? Well, let me suggest this, that sometimes God will allow you to suffer a trial to keep you from tragedy. Lord have mercy. Yes, but Babylon was a trial, but that trial kept them from tragedy because everybody who didn't go to Babylon was killed in Jerusalem. And you may not like your trial, but here, whether you know it or not, your trial is what kept you from tragedy. Y'all not getting it. I told this earlier. There was a sister a long time ago. She got fired from her job on 9/10/2001. And when she got fired, she had an attitude. Y'all believe that she got fired from her job? She worked in New York City at one of the Twin Towers on 9/10/2001. She got fired from her job. She went home, had an attitude. Can't believe after all the years I've been put in this company, I did messed up one time and they had the nerve to fire me. And she had an attitude because that was a trial. But when she woke up on 9/11/2001 and she turned on her television and she saw the tragedy, y'all, she was upset on 9/10, but she was thanking God on 9/11. Lord, I wish I had a witness in the place. And somebody going through a trial right now, you may not understand it, but your trial could be keeping you from a tragedy. Your pain could be keeping you from getting into a work. I wish I had a witness in this place. Can anybody help me thank God for your trial? Because God is keeping you in your trial, and he's keeping you from a tragedy. And here it is. Y'all, they were upset. And here it is, they were in Babylon. But when you think about it, I'm still alive. Lord have mercy. But y'all, here it is. Jeremiah, he comes to them and he gives them a word. And he says, well, this is what God is going to do. He's going to teach you how to manage in your captivity until God bring you through it. Now, here it is. So here are the three things. Jeremiah says, if you're going to manage in the meantime, you've got to learn how to make the best out of a bad situation. Okay, here it is. If you're going to manage in your captivity, in the meantime, you've got to learn not to let your problems stop you from being productive. Jeremiah says, since God not going to immediately take you out of it, and since you have to go through it, you might as well make the best of it. Look, you might as well be productive. Look what he says in verses 4-6. He says that although you're in Babylon, he says this is what the Lord says. Build houses and settle down. He says plant gardens and eat the produce. Then he says get married, have children, and have your children get married, and we want them to have children. Basically, what God is saying is that while you're going through your hard season, I need you to increase, don't decrease. Even though you're going through a tough season in your life, I want you to come out of it with more than you had when you went in it. Lord have mercy. Which means don't let any problem you have stop you from producing and being productive. Don't let what you're going through stop you from being who you are. Don't let it steal the best of you. Don't let it depress you. Don't let it stress you. Don't let it get you down. You have to continue to live your life. And you may not be able to do all that you used to and do all that you want to, but you've got to make the best of what you can do. Yes, you may have some problems, but you've got to live in spite of your problems. You know how we do sometimes when we go through changes. We want to sit in our corners and have our own pity party. We want to be frustrated, but God says, no, you still got to live your life. Yeah, matter of fact, somebody upset because now you were in a relationship all these years and all of a sudden happened and now you single. That ain't time for you to feel sorry for yourself. Still get up in the morning. Still make yourself up. If nobody won't take you out, take yourself out. But you got to live your life. You may not be financially as strong as you used to be, but that don't give you a right to sit around and have a pity party. You may have to downsize, but still live. You got to do. You will have a witness in this place. Come on, tell somebody, keep on living. I don't care what you're going through. You got to keep on living. And I need somebody who's going through, who made up in their mind, no matter what it is, I'm going to be all right. I may not have what I used to have, but I'm going to be all right. Yes, I may have to rob Peter to pay Paul, Peter, John, Andrew, and all the other disciples, but I'm going to be all right. Matter of fact, my health is not as good as it used to be, and I don't get around like I used to, Mother Burgers, but I'm going to get to where I can. It may take me longer, but I'm going to get there. I'm going to get out of my bed one foot at a time. You may be unemployed. You may be looking for a job, but don't sit home, have no business. No, you get up every morning, start working on your resume, send it everywhere, and matter of fact, set your alarm clock anyway, so you already used to getting up when the job comes to hand. A witness in this place, you got to keep on living. Now ain't the time for you to give up. Now ain't the time for you to throw it. You got to keep on living until God shows up. So if you're going to manage the meantime, you've got to make the best out of it by being productive. But can I push it one more time? If you're going to manage in the meantime, Jeremiah says you got to learn how to exercise patience. Can the church say be patient? Be patient. Y'all, come on, be patient. You got to be patient because it's going to work out. You just got to be patient. It's going to get better. You just got to be patient. God's going to work this thing out for you. The door is going to open. You just got to be patient. God is going to fix it. You just got to be patient. Y'all, come on, help me preach it a little bit. Tell somebody, be patient. No, I know you're ready. I know you want more. I know you deserve more. And you should have more. But sometimes you got to be patient and wait on God. Be patient. Yes. See, when the children of Judah, when they first went into captivity, they were devastated. Y'all, they were so devastated that they wanted God to hurry up and bring them out. That they wanted God to show up in Babylon and take them back to Jerusalem. And when you're going through, you got to be careful about false prophets. Lord have mercy. When you're going through a trial, you got to be careful because people start speaking to your desires. And just because it's your desires don't mean it's God's plan. Lord, have mercy. And when you are vulnerable, you start listening to everybody who speaks to what you want to hear. The Bible says, when you read chapter 28, that there was a prophet by the name of Hananiah. And Hananiah came and told them, he said, watch this, that in 2 years it's going to be over. And in 2 years, y'all going to be out of this. But now, y'all, when you study this, Hananiah really wasn't a bad prophet. Hananiah just was telling the people what he thought, not what God said. Because a real prophet hears from God, not speak out of their own desires. And everybody who's speaking to you may not want harm for you. But I don't want you telling me what you say. I need to know what God said. And if you ain't praying, God ain't speaking to you. God ain't going to help me preach. If you ain't spending time with God, how can you speak for God? Lord have mercy. Hananiah said in 2 years, all this going going to be over. And the Bible lets us know that the children of Judah were happy. They were saying, well, 2 years, I can do this. Matter of fact, 24 months, all this will be over. But Jeremiah came in verse 8 of chapter 29 and said, listen, matter of fact, y'all need to go ahead and unpack. Matter of fact, put them suitcases back. Because it ain't going to be 2 years. It's going to be 70 years. Jeremiah said when 70 years is over, that's when God going to show up. Now, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. He said, I know y'all ready to go, but y'all, it's going to be some time. Now, God's going to show up, and God is going to bring you out, but you're going to have to learn how to wait on it. You're going to have to learn to trust in God's time and not your own. Lord, have mercy. And that's why you got to be careful, church, about listening every time somebody tell you that God told me to tell you. Lord, have mercy. Matter of fact, it's strange that God can speak to you about my life, but he can't speak to you about your own life. You got a word for me and everybody else, but you on Facebook asking people what you should do. I mean, won't you talk to God? You don't have a witness in this place. Don't y'all know some folk like that? They got an answer for all your problems. They can tell you what you need to be doing, where you need to be and what you need, but when they in trouble, they don't know who to talk to. Lord, have mercy. Be careful who you listen to. And Jeremiah said, y'all gonna have to be patient because it's not gonna happen as fast as you want it to. But can you hang in there until God finishes what he's doing? He said when 70 years is over, that's when God gonna show up. But y'all, we've got to learn how to be patient and wait on God. Yes, and when you wait on God, God will turn it for your good. Do I have a witness in the house? You've got to learn how to wait on God. Well, how do you wait on God? David said in Psalm 27 that you be of good cheer. Don't wait with an attitude. No, don't wait with frustration. He said be of good cheer and wait on the Lord, and he will strengthen your heart. You got to wait with expectation. David said in Psalm 37 that I once was young, but now I'm old, and I've never seen the righteous forsaken. Which means you got to know that if God said it, it shall come to pass. And do I have a witness in this place? In fact, anybody who's waiting on God to do something in your life, no, anybody who's waiting for a breakthrough, and that's why every morning I wake up, I'm looking around saying, God, is this today? And if God say not yet, I ain't upset. I'm just saying, Lord, if it ain't today, it might be tomorrow. And if it ain't tomorrow, it's coming because God said it. But y'all, we've got to learn how to wait on God. And when you waiting on God, don't let your desires cause you to move out of turn. Don't let your desires cause you to chase a destiny that God hasn't planned for you. If you know God's going to show up, you ought to wait with a spirit of expectation. And I may be going through, but when you're waiting on God, your language got to change. When people say, you still going through? I'm going through. That's right. See, I'm going through this trial. David said it like this, yet though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. And you got to learn how to speak those things that are not as if they are so. I'm waiting for God. I'm expecting God to do it. So while you waiting for him to do it, start getting ready for him to do it. So when God show up, he ain't got to wait on you to get ready. I'm already ready. Y'all, a few years ago, y'all, I was waiting for somebody to come out the house. Lord have mercy, I ain't said no names. I was waiting, y'all ain't gonna help me preach, for somebody to come out the house. But y'all not my door. I'm beeping the horn. But somebody said, you ain't got to beep the horn because I'm already ready. When you said you were on your way, I was standing at the door. And I learned when you expect somebody to come, you standing at the door waiting for them because sooner or later that God's going to show up. Can I preach to somebody who's in a tough season right now? Get yourself at the door and get ready to come out of this. I know you've been sick for a long time, but get to the door of your healing because you're getting ready to come out. Get to the door of your breakthrough because you're getting ready to come out. You will have a witness in here. Y'all can stay all you want, but I believe God is about to open some doors in my life. He's about to turn some stuff around. So while I'm waiting in the meantime, I'm going to keep on praising him. I'm going to keep on serving him. I'm going to keep on worshiping him because this too shall pass. Do I have a witness in this place? Can somebody help me preach my Lord's sermon? Can you tell somebody that trouble don't last always, and sooner or later God will bring you out? Do I have a witness in the house? Anybody believe he's going to do it? Do me a favor, speak over your life. Somebody shout, I'm going to be better. My life going to be better. My finances going to be better. My children going to be better. Sooner or later, God's going to do it. Good day, y'all. For how you manage in the meantime, you got to be productive. You got to be patient. But you got to believe what God has promised. You got to believe in his plan. The children of Judah, they were in a tough season, and it didn't look like it was going to change or get better. But every time they got discouraged, they went back to his word. And God says, I know the plans that I have for you, and my plan is to prosper you. My plan is to grow you. My plan is to give you peace. So if you're still struggling, God ain't finished yet, because his plan will never come back forward. Do I have a witness in the place? So hold on in the meantime, because God has a plan, and his plan is for you to be the head and not the tail. Hold on, because his plan is for you to be the lender and not the borrower. His plan is for you to have peace, be good health. Do me a favor, tell somebody God has a plan for my life, and I'm going to wait until my change comes. I'm going to wait till he do it, and I just believe that God will. I said God will do it. Do I have a witness that God will deliver? Won't he do it? Won't he make a way out of no way? Won't he pick you up? Turn you around. Ain't he all right? I said, ain't he all right? Hold your head up, because God will. God will. God will deliver. Yes. Yes. He will work it out. Yes, he will. Yes, he will. Yes, he will. Hold your head up. Hang on in there. It's going to turn. It's going to change. It's going to get better. Hold your head up. Hold your head up. Hold your head up. I got a feeling. Everything. Come on, somebody shout everything. 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 Gonna be all right. Hallelujah. But you got to manage in the meantime. But I don't know when God's going to do it for you. But you got to manage in the meantime. You keep waking up. You keep smiling. You keep pressing your way. You keep on believing. You keep being productive. And be patient, and God will do exactly as he said. But you got to manage. meantime. Because in the meantime, you may have some ups and downs. In the meantime, it may get worse before it get better. But you got to manage. In the meantime, keep coming to the door, looking for God to do what He said, because He will do it. But y'all, there's one more thing, and I saved this for that. Yeah, I saved this for that. When you're going through, Jeremiah said, you got to pray for your problem. Listen, when you're going through, when life gets hard, don't just pray to get out of your problem. Jeremiah said, you got to pray for your problem. Look. Let me read it and I'm done. This is what the Lord says. Build houses and settle down. Plant gardens and eat what they produce. Marry and have sons and daughters. Find wives for your sons and daughters. Let them marry. So they too may have daughters. Increase, don't decrease. Also, seek the peace and prosperity of the city to which I have carried you into exile. Pray to the Lord for it.
That's all right. Yes.
Because watch this. If it prospers, you will too. I know that's hard, right? Whatever God has you in, don't pray against it all the time. Sometimes you got to pray for it. Because God is going to bless you in it. Your struggle, and all struggles are not physical. Some of it is mental, emotional, financial. Whatever it is, if God don't bring you out, we've got to learn how to manage in the meantime.
Yes, sir. That's it.
And watch this. It may not be a burden. It could be a blessing. Remember that bringing you to Babylon is actually saving your life. Because everybody who did not go to Babylon died in Jerusalem. And God loved you enough to give you a trial to keep you from tragedy. So every setback is not caused by the devil. Sometimes God got to break you just to get your attention. Because it wasn't until they went to Babylon that they wanted to worship God and get right with God. All of us will go through. But the question is, can we manage in the meantime? And while you're going through, be productive. Make the best out of it. Play. Do what you got to do. Be patient and believe what God has planned. Because the person, God said, I know the plans I have for you. And I have plans to prosper. So if God said you're going to prosper, it's going to happen. It's going to happen according to His will. And let me get this with it. I'm done. Prosper don't always mean a whole lot of money. Sometimes God will just give you a peace of mind. Sometimes God will just take care of your children. He'll extend your days. Listen, we got everything we want, but we don't have a whole lot of money, and we still mad. No, God said, I'm blessing you. You just don't even know it. Lord have mercy. But y'all, we got to manage in the meantime. We got to manage in the meantime till God have His way. Because He may not take you out, but He'll keep you here. Come on, give God a hand clap of praise. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. It's going to happen. It's going to change. It's going to get better. Wherever you are, you've got to be patient. Wait on God. We're standing all over the sanctuary. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Those are church are open. Here today, my brother, my sister, you're not saved, you're never